Keystone species can often be confused with the apex predator of a particular ecosystem. This is because some of the top predators of particular ecosystems are also the keystone species. However, a keystone species can be a plant, a herbivore, or even a much smaller predator than the apex predator. What's actually important is the effect the keystone species has on the local environment. The role of the keystone species is important because so many other plants and animals depend upon the activity of this one species. Were it to become locally extinct, the impact of that extinction would have dramatic consequences on a great many other species. The types of keystone species are normally divided into three categories: predators, builders, and mutualists. Now, the first keystone species of predator that was identified was that of the sea star, which eats mussels. In one area, sea stars were removed by hand, mussel population exploded, crowding out all the other species, demonstrating the dramatic effect that removing a predator can have on a habitat. Other keystone predators include wolves, mountain lions, alligators, and jaguars. And there are the builders, which can create nests, burrows, and other living places, which so significantly alter the local environment the whole range of new species are able to thrive in the new environment. Beavers can create dams, which in turn create ponds and pools, which also alter the quality of the water and create wetlands next to the rivers. Other examples can be corals, prairie dogs, dung beetles, and even elephants. Now, mutualists are organisms whose actions benefit an entirely different species, and in turn they gain a significant benefit. So, for instance, a hummingbird pollinates many flowering plants in the rainforest, and in return gains nectar from the flowers. However, without the hummingbird, the flowers wouldn't be pollinated. Without those flowering plants, the habitat could collapse or fundamentally change. Other examples of mutualists are bees, squirrels, maple trees, all kinds of things. And whilst removing a keystone species from an ecosystem is one way to unbalance the system, since there's also a great deal of interaction between many other plants and animals in a single habitat, removing a few species, which on their own might not be considered keystone species, or alternatively introducing a whole new invasive species into a new area, may also have the same dramatic effect as removing the keystone species. For example, in the UK, the largest wild predator now is the badger, after all the larger predators like wolves were removed by man. This means that large wild herbivores like deer now have no natural predators. Large numbers of deer in turn represent a threat to natural woodlands and shrubland, as the deer like to browse on the young shoots of these plants. But without the trees and shrubs, birds, butterflies, insects, and a great many other animals find it difficult to survive. The result, humans have now taken over the role of top predator and cull large numbers of deer each year. So we need to view a habitat as a complex interrelationship of a great many different living organisms whose lifestyles and cycles impact significantly on those around it. It also means that whilst preserving a keystone species may be important for a particular habitat, getting too closely involved in attempting to preserve a single species, no matter how cute and how cuddly it may look, may not actually be in the species' best interests, and certainly not in the best interests of other species in the habitat. Instead, from an ecological standpoint, it's often better to focus efforts on preserving the habitat and leaving the species to find their own natural balance within it. Preserving these different habitats enables us to preserve the biodiversity of our planet for our successive generations.